Look at that. With amazing, amazing, fresh, organic, raw, unfiltered goat's milk. You guys all know how much I love my goats, and I just thought I'd do a quick video showing you my daily routine with them. Until very recently I was doing all the milking by hand, but the two Toggenburgs, which are the two darker goats, they are a slightly smaller breed, and also it's their first lactation, and a combination of those two things basically means their teats are very, very small, much smaller than the Alpines, which makes it really difficult for me to actually get my hands on there comfortably for me or for them. I think I spent about 20 quid on a little plastic bucket. So you've got a tube coming out one side that goes to 2 cups that go on the udders, and then a tube coming out the other side that went to a little hand pump. And effectively what you did is you created a vacuum in the little plastic bucket, and that vacuum obviously created a suction at the other side. It was awful. It was an awful machine. Because it was a plastic bottle, the bottle would collapse as soon as you had any pressure in there. I went through lots of evolutions of homemade stuff. Eventually I bit the bullet, and I spent 60 quid on what I'll show you shortly, a nicer machine. It's an electric machine, and basically a metal 5-litre bucket. It's perfect. The only downside is we don't have electric out here at this end of the paddocks, so I also had to buy a little mini generator, a little suitcase generator for 100 and something pounds. So I've just started to get the feed ready, and as you can see, the girls know what's up. So when I built the milking stand, I built it to fit this green plastic bucket, but usually I wouldn't give them the feed so early, but because I'm going to film at the same time, I think it's going to be helpful. I just clip them all up into separate spots. So like I said, the first job is just to clip them all in their separate spots, and then even the one I'm going to milk, I also clip in. I use these carabiners, and they're incredibly useful, and we just clip them there. And then they're all gonna, be where I want them, and because basically otherwise what happens is this one, particularly this greedy goat, tries to get up in the feed with the one I'm milking, and it just causes chaos. So keep them all separate. It's really simple. And the only wild card is Rhubarb, who doesn't get clipped in, and she's far too stupid to know what she's doing or be helpful in any way at all. We start with the generator. So I'll fire that up. So we fired up the generator down here, and that powers this little motor, which is attached to our bucket here, which is sealed. And then when I turn the pump on, it sucks, and that allows me to pop these cups on, which I'll need to do using both my hands. So the cups are on there, and as you can see, the milk started flowing almost immediately. Now, between the 3 of these goats, we'll get 5 litres every single day. Now, if I was milking them at maximum capacity, if you like, we'd be getting more than double that quite comfortably. But that's just far more than we need. So I don't milk twice a day, I milk once a day, and I've actually reduced the amount that I'm taking so that it's, just less intensive on the animal, less intensive on my girls. And if you keep an eye on the udders, you'll see it's really easy to see when she's empty or when she's getting empty. There we go, that's one done, and now we'll swap them over. I know, girl. Everything's trickier with one hand, isn't it? There we go. So that's the goat we've just milked. And this is the next one, ready to go. By far the biggest advantage of having this electric machine is actually getting the cups attached, because when I was using the manual machine where I had to do the pumping by hand, I'd have to be pumping with one hand while at the same time holding both of these cups on and holding them on in such a way that I had a seal. It was really tricky. Whereas now I can just turn the pump on and then one cup in each hand. And then Fern goes last. She goes down here. So in case you're wondering why Fern gets milk down here on the floor, basically we've had her longest, and our first season of milking, it was just Fern and another alpine goat that we no longer have. And we used to keep them down in a different paddock, and I built a permanent milking stand that was really strong and secure and quite sturdy. Anyway, this year I built a portable one which has got wheels, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, but it's not quite as, you see it's got wheels there and almost like a wheelbarrow at the back with the handles so I can move it around. And anyway, it's not quite as secure as the fixed one down there, and Fern just didn't really like it because she was used to that really solid one. Because she's so generous to us, you know, we'll milk her wherever she wants to be milked. What we go. So that's it, we're all done. It's quite a hot day, so I'm going to get them unclipped so they can go and find the shade. Now, with regards to feed, we basically not have to buy any feed for these girls. We do get a little bit of high yield goat mix purely for when we're milking or when they're pregnant. They could cope with the rest of the diet that we give them, which I'm going to go through shortly, but you know, I don't want them to cope, I want them to thrive. Like I say, this is a 5 litre bucket, and when I take this lid off, you'll see this will be pretty much full. Look at that, with amazing fresh, organic, raw, unfiltered goat's milk. And as you can imagine, you know, 5 litres of that every day. We're not short for things like making ice cream, pancakes, butter, milkshakes, milk. It's just, oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Just a quick word on this generator. For what I want here, it's just a godsend. It's called a suitcase generator. Got nothing but good things to say about it from the limited use I've had. It's lightweight, I can carry it around, but it's also not particularly noisy. I don't know how much the noise came across on the video, but sometimes things can be a bit polluting on a video like that when they're not actually as bad in real life. But yeah, no, I'm super happy with it. So the next job before we do anything else is to get this in the house and get it chilled in the fridge. There's an old saying that goat milk should never see the sunshine. I'm not sure where that saying came from. I take it to mean once you've milked your goats, get your milk in the fridge as soon as possible. Thing is with goat's milk, I don't know if this is true of all milk, but because our milk is raw and unpasteurized, it will taint quite quickly. So once we get it in the fridge for drinking, we want to be drinking it within 3 or 4 days really. Now of course we could pasteurize it, but we just don't see the need. If we're going to not use it in that period, then we would freeze it. We'll put what we're going to use for our day-to-day consumption in the fridge, and then anything that we want to put to one side for cheese making we'll put in the freezer, and then build up a stock and make, you know, a big batch of cheese at once. Some beech hedging either side, and you'll see a stark difference about to happen about now, and you'll see we've gone from the hedge that I've trimmed to the one that I haven't, and there's a reason for that. So basically every 3 days or so now I trim a bit of hedging for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and then that's goat food. So I get a big pile of it, and then over the next 3 days I feed that to the goats. We're going to talk a bit more about that up near the food forest. So that's 8 pints of milk. Each of these holds 4 pints. As I've mentioned before, goats, they don't really eat grass. They do eat grass, but it doesn't make up a huge part of their diet, or at least it shouldn't. They're a browser, which means what they really want to eat is this hedge behind me and all the leaves and branches off of these trees. So along with the hedging, we've got a fair amount of trees here, and I'm gradually thinning some of this out. A byproduct of all that thinning is these branches, and again we make sure that the goats get some of these every day, because again it's really important to remember that these animals, they're giving to us, they're giving us their milk, and it's important that we give back and that we work as a team and that they have the best life possible. So it's not enough that I feed them just enough to sustain them. I really like to give them a variety, and a variety of all these different trees and shrubs. They absolutely love it. Now obviously there are times of year when we have to supplement with hay, but by managing the hedging and trees that we have here, we're able to keep that to a real minimum. I don't want to sound too altruistic, you know, there's an ulterior motive here as well. It's feeding them for free. That's a huge part of what I love to do, but I wouldn't sacrifice their welfare for the sake of a bit of money. But as you'll see, they've had quite a varied diet over the last few days. We've got a small little wood burner in the kitchen, so we're able to use even some of the smaller branches on our wood burner. So another benefit is that they will browse these and strip all the leaves off and the smaller twigs, leaving us, not entirely, but mostly, some stripped branches that we can then cut up and use in our fire. Now over the last few days they've had oak, crabapple, beech, a couple of other things. This is some beech here. Their favourite has been the crabapple, I think, and we've got some more of that for them over the next few days. But they just love it. Don't you, girls? And then finally, obviously, a water trough. Under here, there's a ball valve that as it fills up, will turn it off, just like it does in your loo, because it just means you can plug it in and leave it connected, and it's not going to just overflow and run all over the field, which is what we often do. It's not connected at the moment because with this weather, my wife's got it filling up the swimming pool for the kids. Oh, so that's our daily goat activities. I hope you've found that interesting. I mean, I love my goats. I really do. They're just awesome, and they're great pets as well. They're far more than just a farm animal. They're just amazing pets. So if you found this video valuable, there's several ways you can support it. First of all, just press that like button, subscribe to our channel, of course, and leave a comment down below. We love hearing from you guys. Check out the podcast, Self-Sufficient Hub podcast. But above all, make sure you do subscribe so that you don't miss this content in the future.